In this video, we are going to talk about the stored procedures, and we are going to see how the stored procedures actually work and how we can create a stored procedure in a SQL server. Now, in this video, I am going to use the PUBs database that comes with the SQL Server 2000, and if you want, you can Google it and actually try to find out where the PUBs database is if you are using the SQL Server 2005 or 2008, because these databases are not actually available with the SQL Server 2005 and 2008, but definitely you can find them on the net if you try to Google it, and definitely it is there with the SQL Server 2000. Now, this pub data is a very old one. It usually actually used to come with the Sybase initially and SQL Server both, and then actually from the SQL Server 2005 onwards there is no PUBs database and there is no Northwind database. Okay, now let's go and actually use the database. Let's go and select the database. Actually already in my case it has been already selected, but let's run it once more, and there we are. Now let me first explain to you what a stored procedure is. A stored procedure is nothing but a statements of this SQL actually put together into a program, and that is supposed to be running together rather than actually running a statement wise one by one. Actually you put them into a procedure and run it together. The procedure is nothing but just an envelope to the SQL statement which you want to actually run it together. But what does actually a stored procedure offer you more than a select statement? Why not run a select statement? Rule number one: whenever you actually put the SQL statement into the stored procedure, they are compiled, and the next time the SQL server will not try to compile the same statements again. What means the plan is ready to get executed. Next time the plan won't be created once the stored procedure has been compiled and kept. This gives you the speed for the SQL server. The second thing is there are a lot of SQL statement you want to actually run together, maybe in a transaction, maybe in this thing, okay, where you want the whole of the batch of the statements to be get completed or rolled back. That is where you can use a stored procedure. Other reasons to use stored procedure is that you don't want a user to actually type the SQL statement again and again, or you don't want the user to see the SQL statement. What you can do is allow the user to execute the stored procedure, and the user can execute the stored procedure without looking at the code at all. Now what else does a stored procedure offers to you? Stored procedure offers to you that it can be run multiple times without actually writing the SQL code again and again, but it offers you actually to pass down a parameter inside the stored procedure, and every time you can pass down a different parameter depending upon what parameter value you can pass on a different parameter value, and getting a different result every time. And the best thing is it can be passed with the input variable and there is the output variable, so it's a very flexible thing. You can actually work it out. We will just as we go into the examples we will see it. Okay, let's run it and see it. Here it is. Now first the object ID, I want to drop the procedure if it exists, so I say the object ID. If object ID of the PUBs 2000, that is the database name, DBO is the schema, USP get titles is the stored procedure, and P stands for the procedure, is not null. What does it means? If that procedure exists in the database, do drop that stored procedure so that we can create the stored procedure again. And let's run it. Now you can see the statement has been successfully executed. Now let's go and actually see what the stored procedure really is. As you can see, it says create procedure and the procedure name. Okay, and then there is a variable that says, in SQL Server there are two types of variables. One is the local variable and the other one is the global variable. Global variable is usually the SQL Server already has a lot of global variables that are known as system variables, and they are defined. They carry a prefix of double at the rate, and a local variable, whatever you define, would be actually carrying a single at the rate. As you can see, in this case, I am defining a title name. This is a variable with a single at the rate in the prefix to the variable name, and the varchar is the data type of that variable and the at. And now I am assigning a default saying t beginning with t followed by anything. This is where the parameter would go. Now the below statement is very simple. Nothing, it is just a select statement. It says select title id, title type, price, columns, whatever the columns name I wanted, I have put it here. From titles, where the title table is, where title like at title, where title like title name. Now what happens is, suppose if the user does not provide any title name when the person executes the stored procedure, so by default all the rows that have a title beginning with T would show up. Okay, let's run it. First let's create a stored procedure. There we have created a stored procedure, as you can see. Now we are going to run the stored procedure. Now first run without the parameter. Let's run it without the giving it anything. Now if you see, everything that title starts with the T is actually showing you the rows for the only for the title that is starting with the T, because we did not actually give the any parameter to the stored procedure. We executed without a parameter saying the execute stored procedure name. So it executed because there was a default, so it selected with the T. Now suppose if I wanted to find out the records that are starting the titles starting with S followed by anything, so I can actually use this SQL statement to execute the stored procedure, and I can pass down the parameter S and a percentage which says give me all the titles starting with S. And now you can see all the titles here are there with starting with S. Okay. Now suppose if I wanted to find out all the titles starting with S or T, not just S, S or T, then I have to actually use a bracket, square bracket here, and S and T, and then followed by the percentage. What does it mean by anything starting with S or T and followed by anything? Now let's go and execute again this procedure. Now you will see I have the T starting with the S, the titles with the T and title with S, and you can see so forth and so forth. Now you are seeing the power of the stored procedure, what it can do. Let's move to the other one. Here is another stored procedure. As you can see, execute USP get titles, again the same stored procedure. When I say exponent, I use exponent in the S, means it says give me all the titles except starting from the S. Okay. It is just the reverse of saying give me for only for the S. It is just saying give me all the titles but not the titles that are starting with the S. Let's execute the stored procedure, and if you can see, the titles are there and other things are there, and there is nothing starting with the S. And now the last one, as you can see, it says execute user state procedure get titles exponent with the in the square bracket exponent S and T means, and followed by the percentage means give me all the titles not starting with S or T. Here it is. Now basically I have shown to you how to execute a stored procedure, how to create a stored procedure, and how to execute the stored procedure. Okay, this is a very simple stored procedure. I will continue in the next part, the stored procedure 2. Okay, and we will see a few more stored procedures, how to execute them. And I think so in this video I will just stop it here. Okay, thanks for watching.